Good afternoon, everybody. It's Throwback Thursday. I am DeSoto Brown, the Bishop Museum historian, and I'm coming to you from Bishop Museum Library and Archives. And today, our subject is something which is associated with the summer, because it's July right now, and there's something that happens during the summer. That is, this plant blooms. This is the night blooming cereus. And if you live in Hawaii, if you've been to Hawaii, maybe you're aware of this flower. This is quite an amazing plant. It's a cactus, and its scientific name is Hylocereus undatus. That means that it is part of the cereus family. And no, I don't mean the word serious like opposite of lighthearted and unserious. I mean spelled C-E-R-E-U-S. And the night blooming cereus, as I said, is one of the types of cereus, and there are all different types of forms that this plant can take, that the cereus cactus can take. This one is like a vine. It's like a long, skinny thing that can grow up on trees and over rocks, over the ground, and whatever. And out of this little skinny little stem comes these huge, amazing-looking flowers during the summertime. And these bloom, well, starting in usually May or June, up into September, October, maybe even November. And if you have ever seen this plant, it can sometimes cover really large areas, and sometimes it just has a few scattered flowers, and sometimes there are thousands all in one night, which is quite an amazing sight when you see it. Well, the place that's most associated with the night blooming cereus is Punahou School. And here's a photograph of the night blooming cereus plants growing on the stone wall around the exterior of the Punahou School campus. Now, the night blooming cereus is not native to Hawaii. This is a plant that comes either from Mexico or somewhere in the Caribbean, although its actual origin is not known for sure. And in the middle 1800s, there was a sailing ship that stopped here in the Hawaiian Islands that had various plants on board that had been collected. And there was a night blooming cereus, and it was in very poor shape, and it looked like it was going to die. Captain was going to throw it away, but a woman whose identity I do not remember right now, but she was associated with the Punahou School, this being about the time that it was founded, which was 1841, said, "Oh no, I'll save it, I'll plant it, and maybe it'll grow." Well, it did. And here is a photograph of the Punahou School campus with the night blooming cereus growing on the wall at the base of this picture, which is, this picture is probably taken in the 1930s. And as you can see, it's morning time, and there are lots and lots of flowers on the night blooming cereus. Well, the flowers only bloom for one night. They open at about 8 o'clock at night, and by dawn, they're beginning to fade, which is kind of an amazing thing, as I said, because it's such a huge production for this plant to produce these huge flowers. And if you've ever seen one, they're like a foot tall, each one of them. They're huge. They're these immense, amazing-looking things. Now, you may be familiar with a product of the night blooming cereus plant, which is the fruit, which is known in commercially, when you purchase them today, as dragon fruit. Here's a picture of a branch with 2 dragon fruit growing on it. Now, it was very rare up until maybe about 2000. We never saw these dragon fruit. We never saw the night blooming cereus fruit. They were grown commercially in other parts of the world, but very rarely did the fruit ever form here, and that was probably because most of the cuttings that grew in other places in the Hawaiian Islands all came from the same original plant at Punahou School. So they didn't pollinate themselves, they didn't turn into fruit. Well, now you can purchase these during the summer and the fall in supermarkets. They're kind of expensive, but they taste nice and they look really dramatic. They're bright yellow or bright red or bright purple, and they have zillions of little seeds inside of them, and they taste kind of like a melon. And it's kind of amazing to me to think that this amazing looking flower also produces a bizarre looking fruit. But strange things happen in this world. That's one of them. So that's something that was very typical of the summertime for a lot of us here in Hawaii, to see the night blooming cereus blossoms at night. Now, that's the main part I want to talk about today, but I also want to mention that we have an upcoming exhibit, which is called Journeys. That's going to open next month in August. It's going to be in the Long Gallery at Bishop Museum in Hawaiian Hall Complex. And Journeys is about the Northwest Hawaiian Islands. That is to say, the smaller islands which extend up to the northwest of the main part of the Hawaiian Islands where I am talking to you from. And one of the things about the Northwest Hawaiian Islands, which we will talk about in the exhibit, is that the island of Midway was used commercially. And it was one of the places where the Pan American Airways planes stopped when they were flying across the Pacific between 1936 and 1941. And what I'm showing you is a cartoon map of the Pacific showing the Pan American Airways route that the planes took. And the planes at that point technologically were not able to fly all the way across the Pacific the way a plane can now. They had to make stops. And after leaving the island of Oahu, they went to Wake Island, and they went to Midway Island, and they went to Guam, and they did all kinds of other things en route. But Midway was that first stop after Oahu, and they had to develop a whole infrastructure there, which consisted of a hotel because people had to stay overnight, as well as a dock facility because these were seaplanes, they landed on the ocean, and all kinds of other stuff like that. Well, that's part of the story that we're going to be telling you in the upcoming Journeys exhibit, so be aware that that's coming up. And as I said earlier, this is from Bishop Museum, Throwback Thursday. Here's the Bishop Museum online website address. We want you to come visit us online if you can't come in person, because there's all kinds of stuff happening at your Bishop Museum that you want to know about, that you want to be aware of, so that you can come take advantage of these things. And that's also where you can keep track of what's coming up for the Journeys exhibit, as well as other events, as well as all the fabulous things that happen here. So until next Throwback Thursday, I'm going to say aloha to you from me, DeSoto Brown at Bishop Museum, to you. See you later.